You think the people getting promoted are just better at their jobs. That is not it. There is a second game running inside every office, silent, invisible, and almost entirely unspoken. The people winning it are not the most talented. They are the most fluent. They know 10 moves you have never been taught. By the end of this, you will know every single one. You did the work. The results were real. You stayed late. You solved the problem nobody else wanted to touch. And then you watched someone else take the credit in the meeting. You sat there, replaying it, wondering if you misremembered, wondering if you said something wrong, wondering why it keeps happening to you specifically. Here's the truth. You did nothing wrong. You simply did not know the rules of a game that was already being played around you. That changes today. I'm going to walk you through 10 tactics. Every single one is happening in your office right now. Some you will recognize immediately, some will make you uncomfortable, and the last one, the one hiding underneath all the others, is the move most people never see until it is already finished. What you are about to hear is not in any onboarding document. The people who use these tactics count on you never learning their names. So pay attention. Gossip. You are eating lunch alone, and 2 coworkers go quiet when you walk past. You didn't catch the words, you just felt the air change. That night you lie awake trying to figure out what you said, what you did, why the temperature shifted. That feeling is not paranoia, it is evidence. Here's what's actually happening. Gossip is not idle chatter, it is information warfare with plausible deniability. Every rumor that moves through an office reshapes how people are perceived before they even walk into the room. Your reputation is being edited in conversations you were never invited to. Quietly, invisibly, with zero accountability. The goal is never to entertain. The goal is to reposition you in other people's minds before you can position yourself. So what do? Stop volunteering personal information at work. The less material they have, the less ammunition exists. Your private life is not a bonding exercise. It is a liability in the wrong hands. Your reputation is being written in rooms you cannot enter. Favoritism. You submitted the same quality of work, you hit every deadline, you did everything right, and somehow the person who sits closest to the manager's office, the one who laughs at every joke and sends good morning messages, just got the opportunity you have been waiting 2 years for. You called it unfair, you were right, but here's what you missed. Here's the thing, favoritism is not accidental, it is maintained. The favorite works it. They make themselves visible. They speak in meetings. They volunteer early. They manage the relationship, not just the job. Visibility creates familiarity. Familiarity creates trust. And trust is what gets rewarded, not output. So what do? Stop waiting to be noticed and start creating the conditions that make noticing inevitable. Update your manager on wins. Frame your results. You are not bragging, you are managing perception. That is the real job description nobody gave you. The favorite was never chosen. They made themselves impossible to overlook. Credit hogging. You pitched the idea in a smaller meeting. The room moved on. 2 weeks later, your manager presents it to leadership as the team's direction, and the person who refined it slightly is standing up front receiving the nods. You stay quiet, you don't want to seem petty, and so the moment passes and the credit goes with it. Here's what's actually happening. Credit is the currency of organizational advancement. It doesn't matter who generated the idea, it matters whose name the decision maker associates with it. And silence after the fact is indistinguishable from agreement. So what do? You send the email right after the meeting. Short, clear, just confirming the approach I outlined last week is moving forward. Glad to see it gaining traction. Documentation is your shield, and credit theft collapses the moment there is a paper trail. The idea was yours. The email makes it permanent. Info hoarding. You find out about the restructure on a Friday afternoon. Everyone else seemed to already know. The decisions were made. The conversations happened. You were never included, and nobody told you that either. You are not slow. You are not out of the loop by accident. Here's the thing. Information is power, and in most offices, power is not given, it is quietly accumulated. The person who controls what you know controls how effectively you can operate. You can't advocate for yourself in a conversation you didn't know was happening. You can't compete for an opportunity you never heard about. So what do? Build your own information network. Lateral relationships across departments, not just up the hierarchy. The most informed person in the room is never the most senior, they're just the most connected. In every office, information is the currency, and some people are hoarding it. Backstabbing. Your manager's energy shifted last week. Nothing dramatic, just slightly cooler, slightly more formal. You can't identify what changed. You run through every recent interaction looking for the mistake. You can't find it, because the mistake didn't happen in front of you. Here's what's actually happening. Backstabbing is not dramatic. It is a well-placed comment to your manager, a concern raised in a room you were not in, a subtle undermining of your credibility framed perfectly as genuine feedback. I just thought you should know. They never look like the villain. You just slowly look less capable, and you never get to defend yourself against a charge you never knew was filed. So what do? You make your relationship with leadership direct and strong enough that a third party's framing can't overwrite what leadership already knows about you firsthand. Your strongest defense is a relationship they can't rewrite. They didn't attack your work, they attacked how your work is remembered. Toadying. You watch them in every meeting, nodding before the sentence is finished, laughing half a second earlier than anyone else, agreeing loudly with ideas they privately dismissed an hour ago. You find it embarrassing. You look away. That is a mistake. Here's what's actually happening. Toadying is not weakness, it is a deliberate positioning strategy. The toady is not agreeing because they lack opinions, they're agreeing because they have calculated that visibility through agreement costs them nothing and pays in access. They're in the room for the real decisions, the informal conversations, the opportunities that never get posted anywhere. You are not in that room. And your integrity, while admirable, is not getting you a seat at that table. So what do? You don't become the toady, but you stop dismissing strategic alignment as spineless. There is a difference between sycophancy and reading the room. One is desperate, the other is deliberate. Being right in private costs you nothing. Being heard in the room costs everything. Clique formation. You notice the same group of people always eating together, always copied on the same emails, always somehow aware of things before the rest of the floor knows. You tell yourself it's just friendship. It is not just friendship. Here's the thing. Cliques are not social clubs. They are resource distribution systems. Information flows inside them. Opportunities get filtered through them. Promotion decisions get discussed inside them before they ever become official. You are not in the clique, so you are not in the conversation. You find out about decisions after they are already sealed. You are managed, not included. The clique does not recruit talent, it recruits loyalty. And loyalty is built through shared information and small favors traded quietly over time. So what do? You don't try to force your way into a closed circle. You build your own. 2 or 3 high performers across different departments, aligned, exchanging information, creating a parallel network. The clique loses its power the moment it is no longer the only game in the room. Every office has an inner circle. The question is whether you're building one. But all of this was leading somewhere darker.
False promises. You turned down the outside offer 18 months ago. The timing felt wrong. Your manager had just told you that you were being considered for the next level. It felt real. It felt close. You stayed. The role was filled by someone external 6 months later. A conversation happened. An explanation was given. You nodded. You told yourself, next time. You are still waiting for next time. Here's what's actually happening. False promises are not broken accidentally. They are deployed deliberately as a containment tool. The promotion that's definitely coming, the raise that's almost approved, the opportunity that keeps getting mentioned and never materializes. These are not failed intentions. They are active strategy.
A fulfilled promise ends your motivation to perform at maximum. An unfulfilled promise that stays believable keeps you working at full output, indefinitely, while costing the organization nothing. You replay every conversation from the last 2 years, looking for the moment you should have known. It was there. The warmth without commitment, the vagueness dressed up as encouragement, the specificity that never quite arrived. They never wanted to promote you. They wanted you to believe you were about to be promoted. That is exactly the point. The most expensive thing about a false promise is not the time it costs you. It is the alternatives you quietly stopped pursuing while you were waiting. They didn't break the promise, they used it. There is a difference. What just happened in this video was not a lesson, it was a reckoning. You now know the architecture. 10 moves, all named, all decoded. And knowing the name of something strips it of its power over you completely. Here's the thing. Every single tactic in this video runs on the same fuel, your unawareness. Gossip requires your silence. Favoritism requires your invisibility. Backstabbing requires your isolation. False promises require your patience and your blind trust. Remove the unawareness, and every tactic loses its grip simultaneously. You are not powerless in this system. You are newly fluent in it. And fluency is not paranoia. Fluency is protection. The most dangerous employee is the one who cannot be manipulated. That is now you. The workplace was never just about your output. It was always about power. Who understands it, who shapes it, who loses it slowly while waiting for a promise that was never meant to be kept. You now know every move on the board. Knowing the game is winning it.